makes it so difficult to fight someone who has an opposite stance to ourselves? Well, especially for right-handers against lefties, not so much the other way around, strangely enough. I mean, is it simply because we can't take the sleeve whenever we want to? Or is it the fact that we keep hitting that awkward pain in the backside hip that keeps getting in the way because of the position of my lefty, and it keeps knocking us off balance? And I think when I think of that, I think of always struggling to find my balance with left-handed fighters. And on reflection now, I mean, I can ask myself, did I prepare properly or enough against opposite stances? I mean, obviously I worked with it because I hated it, but did I do enough? I mean, because obviously a lot of the top people that I fought and lost major titles to were lefties. Ezio Gamba was extreme left, and in all of our battles together, I struggled to catch the sleeve and to find the correct angle for attack. And every time I fought him, and I beat him in 2 European finals, remember, but lost in the final of the Olympics on a split decision. But I remember all the way through that match, getting through to the final fairly comfortably. And then the final, I was off balance all the way through the fight and I was clawing my way back all the way through it. Hikagi of Japan, who was also an extreme lefty who I fought in the final of the World Championships in '83, was not only super strong as well as super awkward. And I guess of all of the fights that I can think of, I think that he was the most difficult for me. And in the final of the 1983 World Championships, I kind of was, as far as I was concerned, probably the best tactical match that I ever played against somebody who was physically stronger. And I remember thinking, well, I've got to hit all the time first, and I've got to beat him to the grip every time. And I thought I'd done enough to win. But he got the decision in the end, and it was another major loss in another major final to a lefty. So why are they better at fighting opposite stance than right-handers are? And on reflection, I think it's quite simple. The actual technical reality of it is quite simple. And like anything, it comes down to absolute preparation. And when you consider that only 10% of the population are left-handed and that it really is a right-handed world, and taking this into consideration, what it means is that left-handers are adapting constantly in everyday life, not just in judo, but in everyday life in order to function normally, which means that most things are preset for a right-handed world. And that means lefties are constantly readjusting their movement, their body positioning, their sight lines, their views, their hands, and of course they're readjusting their mindset because they've got to say, well, I've got to change this just a little bit to be able to function. And it becomes more natural, I think, for them to do it on a day-to-day basis. And of course, when you translate this onto the judo mat, the same problems occur. They have a greater amount of right-handers to fight and train with. And of course, they're used to making readjustments. They do it all day and every day. They just become better at it and it becomes more natural. Now, strangely, I am left-handed and I write with my left hand and I do a lot of things left-handed, but I am kind of ambidextrous as well. And when it comes to judo, I am more predominantly right-handed, but can go left-handed when needed. But that means then that I'm still having to make readjustments when fighting left-handers. And when it comes to making the readjustments in judo terms, I find it more difficult. And this is it's not an excuse. It's just an absolute fact. And it's always been against left-handed fighters that I've struggled with. And while I used to train with specific grip changes, body foot readjustments to enable myself to get into the right place at the right time. And the real key for me was getting as many left-handed fighters in practice as possible. And even then, looking back, it just wasn't enough. Not just getting hold of a lefty, but lefties that could offer a dangerous threat throughout the whole of the practice. Ones that could throw me, could catch my grip, maybe dominate the grip, cause me problems, make me think, make me defend, and make me readjust and make me adapt to their stance. And this was the real key for me. And you can have all the best strategies in the world and all the best gripping plans, and they can be coming out of your ears. But if you cannot make the necessary readjustments at the right time, and you haven't got a situation where you can actually practice them, then you can't make it work. And it's not going to work, not in practice or in competition. So this is what they, left-handers, can do. And they can do it better than right-handers. And somehow we have to do the same, or we have to reproduce the situations so that we can practice it in the same way. And that means if we have got a left-hander in the club, then we've got to keep going to them and even instructing them as to what you want them to do. And I think to be successful at anything, it's down to the preparation and the right mindset and the correct training against those particular people, against left-handers. It's those kind of people, but it is against left-handers specifically. I think sometimes you need an element of luck as well, but and I can't say this enough, it is down to the preparation and the amount of time that we put in and making it, the readjustment, as natural as we can possibly make it so that we keep doing it all the time. I find it sometimes when I have to come to do a voiceover or any kind of commentary, it's always set up for a right-hander, not a left-hander. So I have to make that readjustment, and I need it to be that natural to me in my everyday life and also on the judo mat. And I try and do it as much as I possibly can because I try and be as ambidextrous as possible and try to sometimes use my right, sometimes use my left. And, what can I say? What do we need? I think probably a few more lefties in the clubs would really help. But it is an interesting situation and one that left-handed people, left-handed fighters adapt to a lot easier than right-handers. But we'll get there in the end. It's something that I'm still working on, even at my age.